Marriage, the promise of forever love. But what if that promise hides a nightmare? What if the partner you dreamed of becomes the shadow that suffocates you? Tonight, we peel back the curtain and expose what no one dares to whisper aloud. The chilling, unseen side of married romance. Welcome to Unseen Romance, the place where passion meets shadows. Society paints marriage as a fairy tale ending, but the truth is far more unsettling. In this story, we'll uncover how love can twist into silence, control, and sacrifice. By the end, you'll never see married romance the same way again. The wedding night shines with glittering hopes, vows whispered with trembling voices, and dreams stitched together like a perfect quilt. For many, this is the climax of love, the moment where passion finally transforms into permanence. Candles flicker, guests cheer, and the future feels carved in stone, forever. But the cruelest trick of forever is how quickly it transforms. Those morning texts turn into reminders about bills. Late-night calls become checklists of chores. What once was passion becomes routine. Even the smallest gestures, flowers, compliments, surprises, fade like old photographs left in the sun. At first, you reassure yourself, this is just how marriage works. The fire cannot always burn as bright, you say. But deep inside, something feels wrong. The spark that once made your heart race now feels like a scheduled task, another responsibility on the long list of duties. Here's the first twist. Romance doesn't vanish overnight. It erodes quietly, almost invisibly, like water carving its way into stone. You wake up one day, realizing the love that once set you free now weighs heavy like an anchor. And as you sit across the dinner table, smiling politely, you begin to wonder, was it ever love at all? But the silence that follows is far more dangerous than the loss of passion. Not every marriage ends in screaming matches. Sometimes romance dies in whispers that are never spoken. Silence creeps in like an intruder, filling rooms that were once alive with laughter. At first, it feels harmless. Just tiredness, just a long day, just needing space. But slowly, silence becomes the default language. Are you happy? Becomes too dangerous to ask. Do you still love me? Lingers unspoken, because both partners fear the answer might shatter the fragile peace they're clinging to. They share a bed, but not their souls. They eat dinner together, but not each other's thoughts. And here lies the first chilling truth. Silence is louder than words. It screams of distance, of loneliness, of two people trapped in a performance of love. On the outside, they look perfect, smiling for family photos, laughing at gatherings, celebrating anniversaries with staged joy. But behind closed doors, silence devours them. The twist here is unsettling. Silence doesn't just hide emptiness. It often hides secrets. A partner's late-night scrolling, the subtle withdrawal of affection, the unspoken attraction to someone else. And you don't even realize it until one day the silence is broken not by love, but by suspicion. And suspicion turns romance into something darker, possession. What happens when silence becomes unbearable? Suspicion takes root. And suspicion is a poison that turns love into control. Suddenly, every message is evidence. Every delay in reply feels like betrayal. The phone becomes a weapon, the password a locked gate. The partner who once cherished your freedom now demands proof of loyalty. Who were you with? Why didn't you answer? Why are you smiling at your screen? Love, once soft and freeing, hardens into shackles. Here lies the second twist. This control isn't born from love, it's born from fear. Fear of being abandoned, fear of facing the truth that maybe, just maybe, the romance is already gone. So instead of accepting loss, one clings tighter, turning affection into interrogation. At first, it feels almost flattering. They care so much. But soon, you realize care has turned into obsession. A dinner with friends becomes a battlefield. A late night at work becomes a trial. Even silence is treated as evidence. This isn't partnership. It's imprisonment. And the cage tightens. Until one day, you realize you're no longer someone's lover. You're their possession. But possession doesn't just strangle romance. It plants a seed of resentment. And resentment, once grown, feeds the hidden economy of marriage: sacrifice. Every marriage demands sacrifice. But here's the cruel part. It's rarely equal. One partner gives more. More time, more effort, more of themselves, while the other takes without realizing. Society calls it compromise, but too often, compromise is just another word for surrender. At first, these sacrifices feel noble. You give up a dream job to support your partner's career. You abandon friendships to prioritize family time. You silence your ambitions, convincing yourself it's for love. For a while, you believe it's worth it. But slowly, the weight of these choices begins to crush you. Why always me? Why do I give and they only take? The romance you once cherished begins to feel like a debt you'll never pay off. Here lies the third twist. Sometimes the one making the greatest sacrifices doesn't realize it until years later. They look in the mirror and see a stranger. The person with dreams, hobbies, and ambitions is gone, replaced by someone who exists only to hold the marriage together, and by then resentment has already replaced affection. Love has become obligation. Romance has become survival. But why? Does no one talk about this imbalance? Why do couples suffer quietly while pretending the fairy tale is still alive? The silence isn't accidental. It's enforced by society. From childhood, we're taught that marriage equals happiness. To question it feels like betrayal. To admit it's suffocating feels like failure. So couples learn to wear masks, smiling at parties, posting anniversary pictures with captions about love while hiding the cracks in private. The truth becomes a private prison, sealed behind closed doors. And this silence doesn't just destroy marriages, it creates illusions for everyone watching. Children grow up seeing their parents' perfect marriage, not realizing the love they saw was laced with sacrifice, silence, and control. Here's the final twist. By not talking about it, we make it worse. Pretending doesn't heal wounds, it deepens them. And generation after generation, the cycle continues. Love turns into silence. Silence turns into suspicion. Suspicion turns into possession. Possession demands sacrifice. And through it all, no one speaks. Because speaking means shattering the illusion of the happily ever after we've all been taught to chase. This is the true dark side of married romance. Not abuse that leaves bruises, not betrayal that leaves scars, but the slow, invisible erosion of love, hidden under layers of silence and expectation. But breaking the silence? That might just be the only way to save love at all. So next time you hear forever love, remember, forever isn't always what it seems. Some marriages thrive, but others suffocate in silence, control, and sacrifice. This was the dark side of married romance. Share this story because someone you know may be trapped in that silence right now.